It was the start of summer when the affluent Connecticut town of New Canaan, just an hour from New York City, suddenly found itself in the middle of a vexing murder mystery. On May 24th, 50-year-old Jennifer Dulos had just dropped all 5 of her children at school, but that was the last anyone saw her. Effectively, she vanished.
Startling with 5 children. That's really disturbing.
Within days, her estranged husband, Fotis Dulos, would be arrested, along with his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis. He was a murder suspect with an uncanny resemblance to George Clooney and a jaw-dropping $5 million mansion. When divorce documents surfaced, the story grew more sinister, and the coverage more dire.
I am afraid of my husband, Jennifer said in court papers. I know that filing for divorce will enrage him. I know he will retaliate by trying to harm me in some way.
Suddenly, the case of the missing mom was front-page news right across the country.
Missing mother of 5 who vanished from her wealthy Connecticut town in the middle of a bitter divorce battle. Police now looking into whether she was the victim of foul play.
With Jennifer's husband under arrest, the search went from this park in New Canaan, Connecticut, where they found her abandoned SUV, to Fotis' $1 million mansion, which is about an hour that way, to a landfill in an adjacent town, and really to just about anywhere the leads would take the police. But still, there was no sign of Jennifer. In the meantime, those 5 children were taken in by Jennifer's parents in New York City. It's about an hour that way. And at one point, they were being protected by armed guard. Yet, after one court appearance, a curious statement from their father.
Good afternoon. So, the only thing I have to say again, for one more time, is that my only concern are my children. I care deeply about them, and I can't wait to be with them again. That's it. Thank you.
Not a word about their missing mother. Nothing about Jennifer. Soon, a third man would be arrested and charged with a murder conspiracy. Kent Mawhinney, the civil lawyer representing Fotis in a separate family matter. And police would also discover surveillance video of Fotis and his girlfriend mysteriously dropping trash at about 30 different locations the night Jennifer disappeared. But on the day Fotis was to make a court appearance and likely have his bail revoked, breaking news at that massive Connecticut mansion.
When officers responded, they could see through a window that Mr. Dulos was sitting in his vehicle, and he had obvious signs of medical distress. Mr. Dulos was transported to Yukon Health by ambulance, where he is now listed as critical condition.
Fotis had attempted suicide at that beautiful home inside his garage by attaching a vacuum cleaner hose to his exhaust pipe and running it through his car window. His lawyers made an emergency court appearance.
I've had an opportunity to see Mr. Dulos, and his medical condition is dire.
Within days, Fotis Dulos was dead. His 2 alleged co-conspirators left facing trial without him. And residents were left still wondering about the mystery that lingers.
I hope for her family something, she gets found, or I don't think there can ever be closure, but I hope there is some resolution.
In suicide, Fotis Dulos took to his grave any secrets he may have known about Jennifer's whereabouts, and left 5 young children with no mother and no father. And one big burning question: what happened to their mother?
And we've got an update today on that third person who's involved, Kent Mawhinney, the attorney for Fotis Dulos at one point. Got his mugshot. We'll put it up there. He is. Some big news regarding him. He has now been released from jail and is free because his father apparently has cancer. I think we got footage of him leaving jail. There he goes. So he is free right now. unbelievable development in all of this, as it's a case that still, we have so many questions. Let's bring in Court TV special contributor Ashley Banfield. Ashley, first of all, your reaction to the fact that Mawhinney's now free. He got out.
Well, all along, I kept thinking, that's the poor sot that got stuck behind bars when the other two super rich folk got themselves out on extremely high bond. Kent Mawhinney couldn't afford the $2 million bond, right? The other two could. Fotis could afford it, and the girlfriend also could afford it. So she's out with a GPS monitor and home confinement and questioning, the conditions of her bail. He, on the other hand, has been stuck. And so he appealed to the court this time and said, look, I can't afford the $2 million, but my 86-year-old father is dying of lymphoma down in Florida, and I want, some relief here so that I can go and see him, not only get out from behind bars, but leave the state. So, he was sitting in there on a $2 million bond, and I think it was about, 246,000 WTNH television in New Haven, Connecticut reported. So $250,000 bond down from $2 million bond, and out he goes. But there's some conditions as usual. Vinny, it's not surprising. He has to surrender his passport. He has to have a certain permission to be able to leave Connecticut. This one, to go to Florida, was granted. But after that, no such luck. But I'm always worried about Florida and heading off to Florida if you're on, bail, because I don't know, there's just so many places you can go from there by water.
Yeah, there is. I guess it's always a possibility, especially if you're cornered. How cornered is he? What was his relationship with Fotis Dulos? I mean, was it attorney-client, or was it something beyond that?
Well, he will argue, that it was attorney-client, but there is a lot of evidence against him, Vinny. I mean, gosh, where do we start? I need an hour. But I'll summarize. He was the civil lawyer helping Fotis with his cases against Jennifer's family. They had some financial wrangling between them. Fotis was, in deep debt to Jennifer's family. They were suing him for the millions, and this man was representing him in that case. But the allegations go that he went much further in helping Fotis to orchestrate this murder plan, being in the office of Fotis's house on the day that Jennifer disappeared, and orchestrating Michelle Troconis to accept a phone call from Fotis. I mean, there were all sorts of allegations that he had been a very significant part of this plan. Not just the day that she went missing, but there are also allegations. And Vinny, this is where it gets really off the rails. That this man also was in a pitched battle with his wife, and he is accused by some of orchestrating a plan to get his wife over to Jennifer Dulos's house on the same day that Jennifer went missing from her garage. Come on over and talk to my client and my friend Fotis. And, and Jennifer and Fotis and you and I will all have a come to Jesus moment, and we'll try to really fix our problems. And Kent Mawhinney's wife apparently said, not a chance. I got an order of protection against you. I'm not going anywhere near you or the Duloses. And thank God, because who knows what might have happened to Kent Mawhinney's wife that day that Jennifer Dulos had a violent end to her life inside her bloody garage. He is not charged with any attempt against his wife, but he is charged in connection with Jennifer's disappearance, and he's charged as a conspiracy. There's also, God, it goes even further, and this is where it really gets even more crazy. 2 hunters were out at a hunting club up in northern Connecticut, and they stumbled upon a human grave that didn't have the human in it yet, but it had been dug up, and there was a bag of lye in the bottom of it, and somebody had gone to great pains to sort of cover it up. And Ken Mawhinney, there's evidence that might suggest he was there. He was actually doing some legal representation for that club years prior, but then contacted the members saying, I know it's been a while since I saw you last. Do you have the code for that club so I can still get in? And that was just prior to that grave being found. Well, mysteriously, the grave ended up being filled back in, and that led to a lot of speculation that was either a grave plan for Jennifer or might have been a grave plan for his wife, if you believe those accusations.
When Fotis was the focus, right, of everything, I think a lot of people were suspecting that maybe, Kent Mawhinney would be the one who would take some sort of a deal, come forward, but that never happened. And the same is true with Michelle Troconis, right? Neither one of them are saying they know anything. Neither one of them volunteered any information at the time when Fotis was still alive.
So, it all sort of happened within weeks, Vinny, and you and I both know that, deals aren't struck overnight. There's a lot of haggling, negotiation, there's meetings, there's in-jail meetings. So it takes a little time. And with that guy alive, they had a lot of leverage, right? Because if the police wanted to get Fotis and would use these conspirators to turn on him, well, then the conspirators are valuable to the prosecution, right? Offer them a big deal, let them out, reduce the charges, and let's get the real orchestrator of this murder, right? Let's get Fotis. Well, there's no Fotis to get now. He did it himself. He killed himself at his very fancy $5 million mansion. So now what's the value in getting a deal out of Michelle Troconis or Kent Mawhinney? I can't imagine. And I'm going to just get you to put yourself right now in the jail cell of Kent Mawhinney and wherever Michelle Troconis heard the news that Fotis is dead. You just imagine how that news landed with them. Oh, I could think of a couple of four-letter expletives that they may have launched real fast, realizing that their fate was just irrevocably changed.
Yeah, but now looking forward, when and if there are trials for these two, we know where the defense is going to go. They're going to go straight at Fotis. And it was Fotis. And we had nothing to do with it. It's the guy who's obviously guilty is the guy who took his own life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. But guess what? There still might be some leverage there, right? Because there's two alleged co-conspirators. So if they start pointing the finger at the other guy, girl, then they can start bringing up evidence. I think the biggest evidence that obviously everybody wants to get is, where is Jennifer? Where's her body at this point? And if they can negotiate, well, let's just assume for a moment they might know. Maybe they don't. I don't know. But if they know, either one of them, Kent Mawhinney, who is alive, Fotis there is dead, he's not given up the goods, or Michelle Troconis, if they know anything about where Jennifer is, I think that could go a long way towards helping them save their skin. Short of that, I think giving up the other guy, girl, point the finger at the other one, that might be, a good defense strategy. But there is evidence in this case that it hasn't been made public yet, Vinny. So we don't know just how much they have on Kent Mawhinney. We don't know yet just exactly how much they have on Michelle Troconis, but we know they have a lot. We know they've got Michelle Troconis in that vehicle with Fotis just hours after Jennifer was last seen alive. And they're driving along a very long stretch of road in Hartford, Connecticut, in a place where he would never normally be seen, a very, sketchy area of town. And they're dropping off bits and pieces of garbage into dozens of garbage receptacles, like stopping the truck, out, something goes into a trash can, and, wash, rinse, repeat a whole bunch of times down Connecticut Avenue. Yeah, what's your story for that? Oh, by the way, why did you stop off for several hours at a multi-million-dollar vacant home that you own in part of your corporation, your construction corporation, Fotis, with Michelle, and you two were just alone in there for, I think, 4 to 6 hours. Their excuse was, we were cleaning it. Well, they're millionaires. And the last time I found any Connecticut millionaires scrubbing and cleaning a vacant, construction property themselves, well, I got a nice piece of land for you in the Everglades. So, they have a really bogus story. The vehicles that Fotis and Michelle were both privy to had DNA and blood evidence of Michelle or of Jennifer Dulos in it. So Michelle knows something. She sure knows something. And maybe that's the something that she's going to leverage to save her skin. But I don't know. It sure has been a long time. Yet she's not behind bars. So maybe the pressure isn't as hard as it will be.
It's not as real. All right. Ashley Banfield, thank you so much.